Kenny Cunningham is with us. Kenny, good morning to you.
Morning, lads.
Let's talk about Manchester City first. This was the team that was supposed to be able to go toe for toe with Liverpool this year. Why have they failed again?
Oh, straight to it. I think there's a number of factors, Ger. I think obviously the most glaring one is the kind of the deficiencies they have in kind of central defence. That was, you could even have made that argument, Ger, prior to Laporte's injury start of the season, that they need another centre-half to play alongside him of some quality. They didn't do that. Talk about Maguire coming in, it never happened. Laporte's injury now has meant there's a real weakness at the centre of defence, but it's not the only thing. We'd be foolish to suggest that suddenly reports arrival back at the team and all the problems are going to resolve themselves. For me, it's been obvious since the start of the season, Joe. One of their biggest attributes under Guardiola was really how hard they worked out possession of the football. And we've all seen kind of clips of that kind of counter press when they gave the ball away in the opposition half, how quickly they were to win it back. Closest man went and engaged the player in possession. Everybody followed. They swarmed all over the opposition. It was a key component of his team. Indeed, even his previous teams, Barcelona in particular, how hard they worked out of possession. It was almost manic, Jared, in terms of how difficult they made it for teams to actually counter-attack them. They spent so much time in the opposition half the pitch. When they gave it away, and an opposition team tried to counter-attack them, which you could actually do because there was always that bit of inherent weakness across the Manchester City defensive line, even when they're winning league titles. You couldn't get at them, Ger, because they worked you so hard in your own half the pitch. You couldn't make those 1, 2, 3 consecutive passes to work your way up the pitch. They immediately broke up possession again, and so their work rate, their ethic, their kind of appetite to win the ball back, and the legs in the team meant that, for me, that was one of their biggest attributes, as good as a footballing team they were. And we haven't seen that this season. They've been far too passive. Too many games, Jared, but looking at them out of possession, and a number of them are walking, and when they go and press, it's kind of half-hearted. So now you have a situation where opposition teams, they don't necessarily have to be the very best teams, when they win the ball back off City, now have a little bit of time to make a couple of passes. Now they have time for individual players to actually travel with possession of the ball, which you saw in abundance at the weekend. Manchester United, a very good Premiership side, some outstanding attacking players, really cut through them at will when they won back to possession of the ball. The amount of times that they won possession in their own half, and ended up in the Manchester City edge of their penalty box without one Manchester City player laying their glove on them, was absolutely phenomenal. It was so obvious in that first half. So, yeah, so those two things fundamentally, I think, put them two together, and that's the big reason why they're trial Liverpool and indeed Leicester City by such a margin.
Like, the confusing or the performances is equally confusing when it comes to Manchester United as it is for Manchester City and their performances this season as well. Like, you kind of look at what you said there, and Manchester United without the ball, how good they are on the counter-attack. Is that the single biggest reason why we haven't seen consistency from Manchester United this year, that when they are expected to dominate a game and have possession against lesser teams, they're just not comfortable yet in dominating a game like that? They're actually just better placed without the ball.
Yeah, I think you're right on. It's a good point. You look at the makeup of their team, particularly that key central midfield area. Now, McTominay and Fred played well at the weekend, but you look at their kind of main attributes, is that kind of pace, athleticism. I'm talking about United's from forward in terms of the pace they have. Well, you could actually enlarge it out to the midfield too as well, 6, and even the wing-back stage, you're 8. In terms of the amount of pace they have in the team. So McTominay and Fred can get around the pitch, they can break up attacks, they can make tackles, they can get box to box, pick and choose their moments as well if they want to break forward. But you're right, in possession of football, in terms of being a pair who can get on the ball and actually dictate the pace of the game, it would actually break lines with their passing and have a whole range of passing to the game, can play that Ivan Needle pass, which we've seen Pogba on occasion, that 30, 40-yard pass over the shoulder of opposition centre-halves for the likes of Rashford, Martial, Ronaldo. No, they haven't. So you're absolutely right. If there's Manchester United supporters out there aspiring to this team, develop into that type of team, possession-based, where your centre midfielders are going to dominate possession and dominate play with an array of passing. No, that's not going to happen. But I don't know. I've never been one. I'm not a Manchester United supporter, obviously, who kind of long for those days to come back. For me, it's Manchester United finding the system of play which best suits the players they have available to them, which is actually successful. And that Manchester United performance of the weekend, I really enjoyed that performance. I mean, maybe a Manchester United connoisseur maybe touched something a little bit, but I certainly wasn't. I thought that was a fantastic Manchester, and I really enjoyed it. The way they attacked, how quickly they counter-attacked, how incisive they were. That was great football for me. They were defensively secure at the other end of the pitch as well. Nice, compact defensive shape. So for me, if there was a way forward for Manchester United, certainly in the short term, that performance at the weekend was it.
I'd just be keen to get your take as well, Kenny, on Aaron Wan-Bissaka's performance, just from a defensive standpoint, the attributes that he's been showing this season to basically put himself right up there as one of the best one-on-one defenders in the Premier League.
Oh, it was fantastic. Him and Sterling, the level Sterling's been playing at. And for the young lad to have the confidence, and when you say he kind of really picked up the challenge, he was so aggressive in his defending, and he can kind of do that because he's so quick. And his recovery is so quick. He's a kind of quite a long-legged lad, but he absolutely eats up the ground. So Sterling was getting the ball. I've never seen a defender get as close to Sterling when he had his first touch, Sterling, because he frightens you with his pace, Sterling. You know that at full-back, you get too close, he plays a little combination, he plays in behind you, you're dead. So invariably defenders drop 5 yards off, maybe allow the winger, one of their centre midfielders to get across, wait for the reinforcements to arrive. It's almost a delay tactic for every full-back against him. Not Bissaka, aggressive, got tight to him all the time. And when he could make a tackle and make contact, he did. He won the ball off him early in a number of attacks. But when Sterling plays that little clever 1-2 and the ball gets slid down the side, as he's had so much success, this lad backs himself in terms of his recovery. His recovery is absolutely phenomenal. It's like that go-go-gadget leg when he recovers, almost always stick it out with toe and a leg to make a tackle. So it was brilliant. I mean, it was a great contest. He didn't win every 1-to-1 with Sterling, but he won his fair share. It was a brilliant contest. Someone so young and still so inexperienced in Premiership terms. It was an amazing performance, I thought.
So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's got the gig to the end of the season, right? At least.
Yeah, I always felt he would, in all honesty. I always felt it was his. They'd made such a commitment, the owners, Woodward, to him at various stages during the season, kind of publicly backing him in terms of, Solskjaer kind of quoted that this is the plan, the short, medium term. I've sat down with the owners, this is how we see it. It almost would have been almost public humiliation for Woodward, self-humiliation for him to come out and actually show Solskjaer at the door. I think Pochettino's arrival maybe made it a little bit more interest, but I always felt hand on heart, Solskjaer would be there at the very minimum till the end of the season, except in exceptional circumstances. And obviously, it's easy to say off the back of the last two games that'll be the case, but I always felt it would. And I think between now and then, Woodward and his obvious advisors will be maybe having a look in terms of how much progression is made between now and the end of the season. If it continues to develop, things continue to improve, that feel-good comes back, yes, Solskjaer can be confident to be there beyond next season. If not, and we have another little dip, which has been the case this season, been very much up and down, you know, there's still a possibility that they could make that decision and, show him the trapdoor at the end of the season. But I think I've always felt he was safe till the end of the season.
I want to talk a little bit about Leicester before we wrap up, because the quality of football that they're playing, how much of it yesterday's performance was down to Villa being completely naive and playing such a high line and actually literally playing into Leicester's hands, and how much of it actually down to here's a team playing really well, very confident, very clear identity?
Yeah, and I'd have to give Leicester a huge amount of credit. I've watched them an awful lot this season. I really fancied the chance at the start of the season. I watched a lot of them at the tail end of last season, and I really like the balance of the team, the qualities which they have, the cross the defensive line, the partnership of Evans and Sancho looked as if it was only going to get better and better. The kind of balance of midfield, and Didi just sitting there, counterbalanced by Maddison and Tielemans. I don't think Rodgers got it quite right at the start of the season. He shifted Maddison out into the left wing a couple of times for a couple of high-profile games. I'm thinking of Manchester United away and Liverpool, and I thought it upset the balance of the team. But when Leicester play with predominantly Maddison and Tielemans and those kind of number 8 central midfield areas, I mean, they played a diamond yesterday. Again, he slightly changed it. He was keen to get Ian Nacho into the team, the front two of Vardy. So regardless of how he's thinking it would have late, the balance of the team is absolutely fantastic, Jared. And they're a top quality team, Jared. There's no getting away from it. I don't see them going anywhere. They've no European competition this season. Yeah, a couple of domestic cup competitions, but they're playing week to week. For me, there's kind of a bit of a holy trinity of players there in the team. Again, since the start of the season, I've always felt they keep Johnny Evans and Vardy fit for large chunks of this season at both ends of the pitch, and Maddison as well. If they can keep those lads fit, certainly now between now and the end of the season, for me that top four is almost guaranteed, because they're that good. The attacking qualities which they have, the defensive strength as well, and Didi sitting in front of that back four, which is only going to get better. Ricardo at right back's been absolutely amazing. From his actual heartbeat, he's the heartbeat of that team. Those rampaging runs from those full-back positions absolutely lifts the whole team, the whole crowd as well. So he's done a great job. He's inherited a great bunch of players there, Rodgers, and he knew it. That's why he took the job. That's why he jumped early from Celtic. He knew this was a great opportunity for him. But to be credit to him, he's pulled it together very nice in a very short period of time, and they really are the real deal.
You're also watching Everton-Chelsea at the weekend. Kenny, Chelsea get more and more unpredictable, it seems, as the weeks rage on. But it was all about Duncan Ferguson and his unbelievable celebrations. You talk about lifting a crowd there. The manager on the sideline is probably doing it at Goodison.
It was great to see. It really was. You could sense the atmosphere, even on the screens. The place was absolutely rocking. That's the way it should be up there at Goodison. I played up there a lot of times. I always enjoyed me football up there. The atmosphere was fantastic, and I haven't sensed too much of that certainly this season. So you could even in Ferguson's programme notes, he wanted to get back to that a little bit, and that performance was just all about not just guts and determination and getting around the pitch and making your tackles. There was a nice shape to the team as well in terms of how he put them onto the pitch, but they absolutely just ran through brick walls for him, and it just goes to show you how much you can achieve even if you have those basic attributes as a team. Chelsea be kicking themselves. A couple of the goals which they can see, the second and third goal, lads, was awful schoolboy defender. They actually had enough of the game, Chelsea, even to have gone and won that. So that was an opportunity missed for them. I don't think there'll be a problem there with them, Chelsea, going forward. I'm sure Lampard will rectify that. But from an Everton perspective, that's the kind of Everton performance which the Goodison faithful now will demand, and it'd be interesting to see now whether Ferguson's that performance has made the owners think in terms of the need to get somebody in. Seemed to be as quickly as possible, like a couple of days ago. Just wonder now whether to take a step back, have a couple of deep breaths, and maybe give Ferguson maybe a slightly longer period of time, potentially even keep him as caretaker till the end of the season, have a good look at him over the second half of the season to see potentially if he's the man to lead him forward.
Kenny, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us.
Cheers, lads.